Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Amiruddin Mashor. We're from Group 6 and our topic is about doing telecommunication business in Malaysia. And here is our table of content, including of introduction, literature review, research methodology, findings, conclusion, and reference. First of all, we need to provide justification on the selection of Brunei Telecommunication Company. First of all, align with the Brunei vision in reducing dependency on fossil fuel and diversification of economic contribution. We can see from Brunei Economic Blueprint, based on 6 aspirations, one of them is to develop a productive and business environment that leverage ICT. So investment in telecommunication but in company Malaysia would possibly incur GDP and employment opportunity for host and participating country. This acts as a win-win situation for both countries, and we can visualize this by using Absalom model. Why we choose close proximity countries such as Malaysia, where businesses should establish the commercialization near to the domestic market so that they can understand the fundamental knowledge of how the foreign market condition works. And then it is act as a incremental learning and commitment on certain market. It also stated that the model is a continual learning process as phased out in stages.
Malaysia is located in the middle of Southeast Asia. With a total population of 32.6 million, Malaysia is the 6th most populous country among the Asian countries. Malaysia's population comes from many ethnic groups, which consists of 69.6% of Bumiputra, Chinese with 22.6%, Indians with 6.8%, and others with 1.0%. From the total population of 32.7 million, 7.4% are people above 65 years old. In contrast, the working population, including the youth, in the country accumulated about 69.6%. The country transformed from an agriculture and commodity-based economy to one with a strong manufacturing and service base that have made it a leading exporter of electrical appliances, electronic parts, and components. Malaysia's government aspires to move from the upper middle country to high-income country in the next few years. The increase in the population, especially the youth and working population, has increased the technological consumption such as the smartphones. This brings the opportunity for foreigners to make use of this to set up business that is related to telecommunication in Malaysia.
Hello everyone, I'm Yusra, and I will talk about the Malaysia's telecom industry starting with their market share. The Malaysia's telecom industry generated revenue of 38.5 billion in 2020, with mobile service provider accountable for 69%. In total, there are 7 mobile network providers in Malaysia. However, the main market share was acquired by Digi with 26%. As mobile network provider market in Malaysia is very competitive, hence the government is demanding for consolidation and rationalization. Consequently, in November 2021, Digi and Celcom announced plan of merging. This merger is predicted to induce significant market disruption by becoming the dominant market share with almost 50%. The market growth of telecom market in Malaysia is expected to increase until 2025, whereby increase in population will induce more adoption of mobile phones as well as increase in adoption of Internet of Things. This is evident as Malaysia GDP growth from telecom industry increased from 5.3% in 2011 to 5.9% in 2017. And in 2022, OpenSignal awarded Digi, Unify, and U Mobile with 4G availability category and Maxis with 4G availability and upload speed experience categories. In terms of workforce, total of 45,000 employees were hired, with SMEs accounted for 75% and large enterprises with 25%. The main required skills employees were seeking was technical skills, followed by big data analytics skills and engineering skills, and then network service skills and digitalization skills. Meanwhile, human resource competencies of telecom industry in Malaysia was emphasized more on employee education, ethics, and interests rather than work experience and intelligence.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I'm Abdul Wafiy. Now I will talk about introduction of Malaysia's economy. Malaysia's business environment is governed by the government, which has set a goal of making Malaysia a high-income country by 2020 by implementing a progressive economic plan that promotes modernization, where it shifted its economy away from natural resources and towards high value-added businesses and services in order to improve the lives of its citizens. In terms of the economic growth, Malaysia exhibited hopeful signs in 2021, with GDP growth rebounding to 3.1% following a 5.6% contraction in 2020 due to the COVID-19 pandemic, according to the Malaysian Department of Statistics. The service industry contributes the most of Malaysia's GDP with 56.5%, followed by the manufacturing sector 24.3%, agriculture sector 7.2%, mining and quarrying sector 7.1%, and lastly construction sector with 3.7%. Furthermore, as reported in the key statistic of labor in Malaysia, the labor force in Malaysia increased by 2.4% in 2021, with employed people increasing by 2.8% and unemployed people decreasing by 4.6%. As a result, the ongoing pace of Malaysia's economic recovery will be able to inspire investors to invest in the country, thereby boosting the country's economic growth.
Now, coming to the Malaysia political risk, we need to define it first. Political risk in environmental business is that affect business environment, profitability, certain industry, and goals through such as discriminatory taxes, embargo, selective expropriation. So the use of political risk here is act as a decision process for conducting business globally. So there's two classification. One is political risk based on government stability, and then economic risks, which are including of level of inflation, wealth of distribution, and such on. So all of this has three determinants based on inflow of FDI, governance support of FDI, and level of corruption. Now in Malaysia, the inflow of FDI by year is increasing. As shown stated here, from 2020 to 2021, we can see a significant increase. And then in Malaysia, known as highest inflow of FDI in Asian region with 31%. In terms of government support, the government is conductive business environment that open to foreign investment, as there are more than 5,000 foreign companies within the nation. And there's a low level of inflation, less than 3% annually. Also noted that there's a 16 free trade agreement, meaning that there will be zero tariff if foreign investor decide to be in Malaysia. And lastly is corruption index. Corruption index for Malaysia is at 62nd in 2021. So meaning that the higher the the higher the rank, the lower the corruption. So 100 means zero corruption.
The literature review will firstly explain the mode of entry strategies and then followed by the 5 variations of mode of entry strategies, starting with greenfield, brownfield, licensing, franchising, and then turnkey projects. Firstly, mode of entry is methods for companies to enter new market. These were driven by multitude of prospective opportunities identified, such as enhancing. Firstly, mode of entry is methods for companies to enter new market. These were driven by multitude of prospective opportunities, such as enhancing profitability and growth, stabilizing companies' revenue, business networking, and resource acquisition. However, forecasting of risk control is also a factor, as each entry mode possesses different range of resource commitment and control. Resource commitment was defined as the willingness to provide dedicated asset to achieve the company's goals, and control refers to the decision-making and operational authority. When there was high control risk identified, the resource commitment strategy will be implemented, and vice versa. There were 3 classifications of entry mode identified. First is indirect exporting mode, including license and franchising. Second is joint venture, and third is wholly owned subsidiary, such as greenfield and brownfield. Greenfield is a form of FDI whereby company establish wholly owned subsidiary in the international market by expanding or build businesses from the ground up. These were driven by the absence of dominant competitor for acquisition, first mover to gain competitive advantage, and when the competitive advantage of the company was based on organizational transfer. It is applied by mainly automotive industries such as Kia, Toyota, and Volkswagen. Some of the advantages includes acquiring major control, technology protection, engagement in global coordination, and enhancing host countries' local human capital and economic return. The disadvantages of greenfield is significant. Capital needed to build new facility. time-consuming planning, and exposure to total risk. The challenges include political risk, difficulties in integration, and interaction with local employees. Brownfield is another FDI strategy of wholly owned subsidiary, alternative to greenfield investment. However, brownfield entered the new market by acquisition of existing facilities and develop your own facilities through lease or purchase. It was usually applied by investors who are searching for rare or very specific compatible resource possessed by the facility. The advantages of brownfield investment include cost-effective from reduced cost for acquisition, reduced startup time, and faster time to market. The disadvantages of brownfield are there is still capital required for technology and equipment, conversion of acquired facility, and mitigation management of environmental hazards of the acquired site. The challenges are potential limitation on property improvement and lease cancellation.
Literature review, licensing. Licensing means the rental or leasing of intangible assets. It is a process of creating and managing a contract between a brand owner and a company or individual who wants to use the brand together with the product within an agreed period of time and within an agreed territory to generate revenues called royalties. For example, Apple licensed Imagination Technologies to have access of the intellectual property in exchange for license fee. Advantage of licensing. Licensors are able to use licensees' distribution networks to enter new foreign market quickly by using lower capital and lower cost to invest in distribution. Furthermore, the licensor will also receive passive income or royalty from the sale of goods and also acquire the expertise and skills from the licensee. On the other hand, licensees lease the right to the brand to be included in their goods but do not share ownership in them. Tucker and Ross emphasize having access to major national and global brands is great benefit to the licensees. The most important is the marketing power the product brand brings to the licensee, where it creates opportunities for licensees to grow their companies. Disadvantages of licensing is licensors will lose control of their intellectual property and rely too much on the skills, abilities, and resources of the licensee, which can lead to theft or duplication by the licensee. For example, New Balance supplier from China has continued to produce and distribute shoes in the Asian region even after their contract have been revoked. Next is franchising. Franchising means a form of marketing or distribution in which a franchisor grants permission, rights, or privileges to an individual or franchisee company to conduct business where the franchisor will provide products and business system while the franchisee will provide capital in the form of funds, human resources, and ongoing efforts to ensure business continuity. For example, McDonald's sells facility designs, equipment, product ingredients, and recipe to foreign investors while retaining certain product and operating method. Advantages of franchising. A franchise is a business and the brand of a company can be expanded through third parties, which is the franchisee, to penetrate more market widely. It also grows by using low capital, which this business model is as an alternative to opening its own branch, which will use high expenses and take a long time. Furthermore, it has a low failure rate due to the sharing of risk and responsibilities with a control management structure and more committed to increase in production. In addition, this franchise business has access to the business concept that has proven to be successful with a brand that is already known to many in the community with support and guidance from the franchisor where the profit can be obtained quite lucratively. Disadvantages of franchising. Franchisee will face regulation restriction from the franchisor where they have to adhere with the restriction, which may lead to exert a degree of control over the majority of franchise business and decision made by the franchisee. For example, franchisors have control towards business aspects such as business location, pricing, operating hours, advertising, and marketing. On the other hand, franchisor will lose of complete brand control, Although franchisors have the complete control and decision making within the business, however, they're actually giving away or selling the control if they allow a franchisee to open a business under their brand, which may cause the brand to suffer when they act differently.
For turnkey project, it is one of the strategies or modes of entering into the foreign or international market. It is a collaborative arrangement where specific firms or general contractors are agreed to handle the design, operations, fabrication, installation, aftermarket support, and technical service of the project. The reason why it is called turnkey is because the key will be presented upon the completion of the project or contract and when it is ready for operation. The purpose of turnkey projects is to eliminate any difficulties and challenges that are faced by the owner of the project. Turnkey project is usually used in complex production technologies, which include petroleum refining, metal refining, pharmaceutical as well as chemical. But it is also used in technology and construction projects. Example of a turnkey project is the upcoming Jewar Airport project in India, where this project is currently being handled by the Swiss company. According to plan, it will be completed by the end of September 2024, by which the airport will be handed over to the local authorities to operate. The advantage of using turnkey projects is that it can help the company to earn great economic profits, particularly in countries where foreign direct investment is limited. Not only that, the companies will not have to waste their time brainstorming on how to design, handle every aspect of constructions, as well as developing a facility because there are experts who are going to do it for them. On the other hand, the disadvantage of turnkey projects is that it heavily depends on the project's owner's trust in the contractor. It is difficult to find the right contractor who understands the owner's vision. Not only that, the contractor's only interest is to complete the project as soon as possible, and they have no interest other than that. Hence, this may cause him to overlook small slip-ups. Furthermore, turnkey projects can create future competitors. The main purpose of this research is to set up a telecommunication business in Malaysia. This paper will be focusing on 3 research objectives, which include to identify the most suitable option for the mode of entry, to assess the opportunity, and finally, to evaluate the potential barriers as a result of using the specific mode of entry. As the aim of this research is to set up a telecommunication business in Malaysia and to identify the mode of entry as well as its opportunities and barriers, document reviews and secondary data analysis methods of qualitative were used. Document review is analyzing the resources from Borneo Bulletin newspapers, organizational files, and survey data to collect information. Secondary data analysis method was used to analyze data from the published or unpublished journal articles. Analyzing the secondary data helps the researchers to identify the advantages as well as disadvantages of the mode of entry chosen, and the information gathered can help to answer the objective of the paper. In order to obtain this information, search engines such as Google Scholar, Sci-Hub, as well as ResearchGate were used to get journal articles.
Now for the discussion section, we use PESTEL analysis. So it is used to assist us for comprehensive analysis on the environment of business, culture, and environment. It also helped investigators to identify potential threat in the startup of business by asking 6 elements of political, economic, social-cultural, technological environment. So political, we have government stability; economic, we have infrastructure, number of competitors; social, cultural, inclusive of demographic of the population; technology includes of IT infrastructure; and environment, concern about the ethical and sustainability concern. Now into the first element of politics, the determinant is political stability, corruption index, and acceptance of FDI. So the result here is that presence of corruption could influence level of FDI, where high level of corruption linked to low FDI, so low level of corruption is preferred. For example, 1MDB initiated to attract FDI was misused by former Prime Minister of Malaysia for personal usage. It affects level of confidence and trust to invest in Malaysia. So as a result, the reduction of FDI by 3.9 million in Malaysia market share. For the second and third, economic and environmental element are merged together because of interrelation. So the determinant here is one brownfield through merger and acquisition able to attain facilities. So this results to faster market entry with lower fixed costs to establish new infrastructure. This contributes to new knowledge and technological spillover. For example, linchpin effect, the investment result to secondary effect, such as job creation, improvement in brand awareness, GDP, innovation in both host and participating country. This result to win-win situation. So barrier here is they need to meet all the host country criteria, and cost of maintaining the infrastructure is high. So the criteria tend to constrict business liberty and performance. Coming to the third and fourth aspect of legal and social. For the legal, the determinant is deregulation of a country financial system. It results to a strategic global market position by exploiting the difference in tax structure, regulation and trade agreement. For example, Malaysia has 16 FTA, meaning that zero tariff. However, the barrier is that in Malaysia there is a high corporate tax by 25% compared to other countries such as Hong Kong and Singapore that are reported to be lower. In terms of social, the determinant in here is the consumer and worker of the host country. For example, in 2019, the internet access for Malaysian population account for 90.1%, while mobile phone at 98.2%. This indicates the higher purchasing power of consumer. It also stated that in Malaysia there's a talent youth account for 22.7 million. So this provide chances for innovation. In terms of barrier, it will be about double layer acceleration. Here refer to cultural difference and problem associated with the M&A of brownfield. Second is that brownfield tend to set unrealistic synergy, which give negative connotation and customer dissatisfaction. And third, they often overlook the human capital with minimal talent management. The final element is technological. Here, the determinant is technological asset, as it results to innovation and competitive advantage. It results synergies for economies of scale and efficiency. For example, product efficiency relate to reduction of cost of product. Innovative efficiency induced for product enhancement. Transactional efficiency remove free rider or middle person. And lastly, network efficiency understand the market structure to be more competitive. Barrier here include lack of clear strategies that result to instability to maximize potential synergies, and then synergy trap. Here defined as overvaluation by investor on acquired firm, and the efficiency of the firm did not meet the investor expectation. To conclude, mode of entry through franchising give access to a solid business model. Licensing provide intangible property that are well known to improve sales and marketing. Turnkey project, on the other hand, commonly involve in technological and structural agreement, such as in oil and gas industry. Through past analysis, we can find out that brownfield is the most suitable mode of entry, as it induces faster market entry by acquiring existing firms. Also noted that brownfield leverage existing facilities, skilled worker and technology to accelerate time to the market and reduce the startup costs. Barriers identified were such as level of corruption, multiculturalism, failure to create synergies, cost of maintenance, double layer calculation, and high corporate tax that inhibit development of brownfield. And that's all from us. Thank you for listening.